Hi everybody, this is Jim Aikin. In this video we're going to take a look at randomness as it's used in VCV Rec to produce hopefully musical results. I'm not going to demo an actual piece of music here, I'm just going to show off a few techniques and let you explore them on your own to produce music. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to have a nice kick drum here. Let's start the drum. You heard a couple of extra beats in there. This is the Gate Sequencer 64, and it's playing the kick drum. The green dots show where the kick always plays, and the yellow dots show where it only plays sometimes at random. So if I want this dot to happen more often, let's see, instead of 38%, let's go to 72%. All right, now let's try it. So using that simple technique, you can produce drum patterns that have some variation. The other drums that I'm going to use here, I'll introduce those in a moment, are being controlled by the Bernoulli Gate here. And what happens is a trigger comes in from the main clock, and it is routed through the top stage of the Bernoulli Gate so that about a third of the time it plays this drum module. About 2/3 of the time it doesn't, and when it doesn't, the trigger goes to output B, comes into the input of the second section, and then 50% of the time it plays this drum. The result is that about a third of the time you're going to hear one of the two drums or the other, but you're never going to hear both at the same time. So let's put those together with the kick. But first I think I'll get rid of that, which I didn't really like, and maybe take this and dial it back a little bit. Okay. Obviously, there are many variations that you could do on that process. The next thing we're going to take a look at is sample and hold. Let me scroll up a little bit here. We'll mute the drums and unmute these two FM operators. They're being controlled from the Bog Audio sample and hold here. The top stage is playing the, let's see, which one is which? Top stage is playing the operator that you're actually listening to. The bottom one is playing the operator that is modulating the other one. The result is a constantly changing tone that sounds something like this. I like that. Let's turn it up. Mad robots. Now, if we wanted to break that down a little bit, let's scroll over here. I'm going to get rid of the delay line so you can hear it dry. And then we'll take the modulation down. That's what the carrier operator is doing. And then we add the delay back in. The next thing we're going to listen to is the Turing machine. The Turing machine repeats a short phrase except when it doesn't. The output is going through a quantizer here, and then it's feeding the audible instrument's macro oscillator to produce a tone. The macro oscillator is going through this dual low-pass filter Gate, and one side is in eighth notes and the other side is in 16th notes. So we're going to hear something that's moderately interesting rhythmically. Now, the thing about the Turing machine is that sometimes its short repeating phrase consists entirely of one note, and we don't know what's going to happen until we turn it on. Okay. Now we're going to add a little variation. If I turn the knob clear up to the top, we'll get no repetition that we can hear at all. If I turn it clear as far as it will go, there's a three-note phrase and all three notes are the same. The other thing we can do with this particular patch, we can add some variation in the quantizer. And I'm not going to try to explain every feature of this quantizer. But let's do a little bit here. Let's have a five-note phrase. And let's turn this on, but we'll make it less likely by turning down the knob. How about this one? So I think you can hear that there is some possible musical interest going on there. We're going to finish this by turning that one off and turning on. I'm going to turn the clock on, and when I do, you're going to hear something very strange. Just to explain this without distracting you too much by forcing you to listen to it, what we have here is we have an oscillator, and as you can see, its waveform is changing rather rapidly in random ways. The caudal mechanical chaos source is being used quite a lot in this patch. You can see that there are many outputs doing various things. Also over on the left, we have two sequencers which have been randomized, and we're using the random clock input to them so that when I start the machine, we're going to get different random steps from each sequencer, and I'm adding them together before I send them over here to control the pitch. I'm also using a drunken rampage to sometimes create a pitch ramp rather than a smooth pitch step. And then we're going over to the delay line, which is being modulated by caudal. And when we change the amount of time in the delay line, the pitch coming from the delay will shift. So we've got several different pitch processes and waveform processes going on all at the same time. And now I have to scroll back here to get to the clock so I can start it so you can listen. Let's simplify this. Get rid of the delay. Get rid of the modulation. Now you're just hearing the pitch. Sometimes gliding, sometimes not. Let's put the waveform modulation back in. Add the delay.